Welcome to The Fully Lived Life, a podcast for those who are longing to pursue the full life and want to break free from anything that holds them back. Listen in as two friends, a psychologist, Dr. Mary, and a life coach, Gillian, talk about life, love, and purpose through the lens of faith, science, psychology, and life experiences.
Hello.
Sitting there staring at you, waiting for you to say hello. Hello, Gillian.
Well, normally it comes up with a little thing for me that says recording in process. And it didn't do that this time.
I hear it.
Okay. Well,
Anyway.
I normally get a little thing and I have to go, got it.
Oh, maybe because it's just ongoing from before.
Okay.
You only have
Awesome.
to give permission once.
Okay.
So how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I mean, the weather affects me because, the daylight stuff, but I'm doing okay. I am. Yeah.
Okay. Well, today's topic is a good one. It's cultivating a resilient spirit.
Yeah. Love it.
It was so good. So this is from Brene Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection. And this is her third guidepost, because here we are in the middle of uncertainty. Winter's coming. I tend to get a little depressed with it.
Yep.
This is going to be our first winter in the country, so I'm anticipating it should be interesting. So this whole thing about resilience it was a really good reminder. So, can I kind of share what she's talking about with that?
Oh, please do. Just dive right in.
Okay. So she's talking about the 5 most common factors of resilient people. So should we self-assess or no?
You've been poking me a lot lately. So
No, I'm self-assessing myself too.
Come on.
Okay. It's coming. Okay. Number 1. Actually, you called yourself a jackrabbit last episode. And I think that means because you actually have the factor number 1. They are resourceful and have good problem-solving skills.
Oh, this is true. I do.
You do. And so that is part of the reason why you are so good at what you do. But number 2, this one, I think you probably suck at. Hey, myself too. Number 2, they are more likely to seek help.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Number 3, they hold the belief that they can do something that will help them to manage their feelings and to cope. I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Number 4, they have social support available to them. Yes.
Oh, you betcha.
And number 5, they're connected with others such as family or friends. Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, 4 out of 5 ain't bad.
We're doing pretty good.
Yeah. The number 2, they're more likely to seek help. That's the challenge. Yes. So I think I'm going to take these 5. I'm going to make sure it goes on our show notes. So listeners, viewers, take a look at that list and do a little self-assessment on how you're doing with that. And the good news is when you do that, it isn't to beat yourself up, it's to recognize that you need to be able to do that thing better. So
exactly.
Actually, you did the seeking help very well with me this week. Just to affirm you. You did.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there you go.
I'll get a gold star.
There you go. Go get your bunny ears on and I'll put a gold star on it.
Actually, I did 2 things. I did a seeking help and I established some boundaries for myself with you.
You did. You were so good.
So I get 2 stars.
You get double stars.
Awesome.
Okay. So all that to say is you are definitely resilient. And that's what I want to remind people. Just because you're feeling your feels, just because you're feeling down, just because you're struggling, just because life may be hard for you right now, does not mean you're not resilient.
That's right.
So you can see with these 5 factors, it's irrespective of what's actually happening in the person's life.
Oh,
so
I think that's so important that you say that again. It is irrespective of what's actually happening in your life.
That's right. There are some realities.
Are in a season
yes.
where our resilience is like, You know those bands we used to make when we were little kids with elastics? You used to keep putting elastic bands around and around, and it came up this big ball.
Yeah.
I feel like that's us right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're just one more layer of a resistant band being added to already resistant bands.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're carrying a lot and pulled in a lot of ways, and our resilience is being stretched for sure.
Yes, exactly. So please keep that in mind as you're listening, and take hope that actually one of it's hard to say this, but one of the best developers of resilience is actually adversity.
Yeah.
I know. People, if you're listening, you can't see Gillian's face. Can you make that face again?
I just stuck my tongue out, closed my eyes, and did that. Wow.
Total grimace. Yes, total grimace. So, so when you're going through hard times, which I know a lot of us are right now, resilience is coming around the corner. But one other thing that Brene Brown says that I think is so important is she could not separate resilience from spirituality.
Yeah.
Right. And we kind of think that strength is just pushing through. It's being smart and educated. It's working hard. And we ignore such a core thing, which is we are spiritual people. And if we don't address our spirituality, it's going to affect our resilience. Now, she describes spirituality as recognizing and celebrating that we're all inextricably connected to each other by a power greater than all of us. And for us, that's God. And that our connection to that power and to one another is grounded in love and compassion.
Yeah. And it's this, she goes back to that belonging and that connectivity, right?
Yes.
It is so important to our resilience.
It is, because what it does is if I remember that I am connected to God and I'm connected to others, then that gives me a sense of hope, that gives me a belonging, that gives me a sense that somebody is with me. And you remember, we've talked about this study before, the backpack study, where if you have somebody next to you who's not even helping you carry, I'll say the backpack study again, because people probably don't remember. Study where people were standing in front of a hill, they estimated at a certain amount, 100 yards, let's just say. Backpack was put on their back of 200 pounds. All of a sudden, that hill became 150 yards. And then the only other third condition was somebody stood next to them that they trusted. They didn't help them carry the backpack. They didn't even say anything. They just stood there. And by virtue of their presence, that person who was carrying the backpack estimated went back down to 100.
Right.
Meaning that just the presence of people gives us the sense of strength and resilience. It really, really does. It's kind of the way God has wired us. So this belief and need for connection, this belief in a higher power, God, and how it's all rooted in love and compassion for each other, from each other, for ourselves, is core to resilience.
Yeah. And I think going back to a previous episode we just recorded, when you were on the trail and you were walking and you were believing this lie, you're on your own. It's one of the things that we need to press into for resilience is that reminder that we're not.
Yes.
Because that lie of being on our own, all alone, up to our own devices and our own resources actually works against us for resilience.
Yes.
It pushes us away and challenges resilience in a very poor way. So we become more dependent on ourselves and we lose the connection with others.
Exactly.
And that's not what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And for people who are listening who may not follow a particular faith tradition, that's okay. It's the spirituality is the recognition that we are all part of something bigger than ourselves.
That's right.
And that underlying all of it is love and belonging and compassion for each other.
Yeah.
And if you don't follow a particular teacher or spiritual person, if you can at least acknowledge that and you can tap into how you're wired for that, that is already going to build your resilience big time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So just having done this for a long time, I know that's why I always say my faith is so important to me, because my spirituality, my sense of worth, my sense of belonging is in believing that God is real, God is for me, God is with me, and God came to save me through Jesus. I mean, that's so core to my resilience. So, so she talks, Brene Brown talks about sort of like the things that you can do to help you develop your resilience. And this is, some of it is like amazing and some of it is very uncomfortable. So here we go. The first one is just about cultivating hope. And I like that. I mean, who doesn't want to cultivate hope? Well, she talks about hope not as an emotion, but actually as a cognitive process. It's like a combination of setting goals with a sort of a flexibility and a growth mindset that I can handle failure and I can learn and I can grow and I can achieve tough goals. Having perseverance to pursue them. That means being able to tolerate disappointment and to also be determined in face of setbacks. Like, how many of us run away from the feeling of disappointment? Like, I hate feeling disappointed. I'd rather not hope so that I won't be disappointed.
Yeah,
right?
I get that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then the third component of that is believing in our own ability. So it's having goals, like concrete goals that may be bigger than, just something that you've always done before. It's having the perseverance to pursue them, being able to tolerate failure, tolerate disappointment, and stay determined. And then, of course, believing in our own abilities. So that's a big part of cultivating hope. So the good news from Brene Brown's research is that hope is actually learned. So those of us who are parents, we have the gift of being able to teach our kids hope. So learn.
I think that is so important to say right in this time.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can preach that one enough right now, is for this time in history.
Yeah.
Mary, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I just thought with all the news last week, just with COVID and, what's going to happen with schools if they close again, but also this whole conversation regarding climate change that seems so overwhelming right now. With the talks in Glasgow, and kids are absorbing this, and they're wondering how they could actually be part of the change.
Right.
And so for parents, I think this is timely to remind them of how to create hope because it seems so hopeless, and how to cultivate hope. I think that is a key conversation.
Right. And even if you do it only for your kids, that is the best thing you can do. I hope you can do it for yourself, because cultivating hope is really, really good for you. And parents, you already know this. Your kids are going to be watching you, and it's not going to be about what you say. It's going to be what you do. So when you think about it in honesty, what are you doing to cultivate hope? And by the way, cultivating hope isn't a false optimism, like, everything's going to work out. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. No, actually, hope is facing reality that life can be really hard and there can be so many things out of our control, but we can find hope in some small way. And we can find hope in how we can have some say in the goals that we set and what we choose to do. So often when I'm coaching people and they're heading off to do something really, really difficult, I say to them, okay, you can't control the outcome in this. You can't even control how other people are reacting to you. You can't control the success of this, but what you can is you can say your goal is in this situation is to grow. And you're facing some fears and you're going to be better and stronger because you've done this. And that is a goal you can absolutely achieve.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. So we can do that same for our parents. Kids need resilience right now, even more so. And if we live in fear and we're always hovering over our kids and we're always telling them to be careful of this, be careful of that, we're not modeling resilience for them or hope. And you're going to raise a very anxious child. So deal with your own anxiety. And that's part of the reason why we talk about it so much. And all the self-growth is so that we can do better, so that we can do better for our kids as well.
That's right. Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So that's the first component of how we can build our resilience. The second one is practicing critical awareness. And this is kind of like the core of our podcast. Critical awareness is always checking in with what is reality saying about these messages that I am hearing, about the expectations I place on myself. What do I actually believe? Is that really true? So critical awareness is about self-awareness and looking at maybe I have an overinflated sense of my ability in here, but actually it's even more so the other way. It's, I'm believing a lie that I can't do this or I'm not good enough, right? So practicing that. And then the last one, here's the tough one. I take a deep breath as I share it. Letting go of numbing, taking the edge off of vulnerability, discomfort, and pain. Yeah.
Sigh.
Yeah. So that means letting ourselves feel the feels, which is what we just talked about the last episode or so.
Yeah.
Is letting ourselves feel our pain and our discomfort and not running away from it, because there are so many lessons and growth that come out of letting ourselves feel it. So let's talk about it. What ways do we numb? Like, what are our drugs of choice?
Well, my big drug of choice is doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Going back to Jackrabbit. Doing. Like if I can busy myself, if I can busy myself and have control over the laundry, all is well with the world.
That's
people.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Mine are the 3 Ps: pleasing, perfecting, performing.
Yeah.
And they definitely work really, really well because I get affirmed for it. But I know it protects me from feeling the pain of possible rejection or the shame of not measuring up or the fear of being rejected. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we all do it. Let's face up
and
to
mine
it.
work for me too, because they kind of get things done. But then the backlash is, I feel frustrated that I did things that I don't need to, the over-functioning piece.
Yeah.
The control piece. So it ends up causing me shame when I numb out.
Right.
By doing those things.
Exactly. And there are other things that are, like eating too much, drinking too much, shopping too much, binging Netflix too much. There's just anything that's add too much.
And these numbing behaviors that they're your go-tos, right? Things get too hard. I go to that to numb out so I don't have to think about how hard the thing is.
Right.
If you can just think, what do you go to? You can come up with your list.
You can come up with your list. So here's the question. How's it working for you? And how is it holding us back? Right. So my confidence in showing up as my true self is totally being held back because I'm busy performing. So I'm not even, and I'm spending all this energy, like we talked about in the last episode, trying to fit into this box. So we've talked about this before. There's that program you and I did, Freedom Session.
Yep.
So we'll put the link to the show notes for that. It's a really great way of helping you unpack some of these drugs of choice that you may have. So this is so important that you address it, because the problem when we numb painful emotions, we also numb the positive emotions.
I remember you saying that years ago, and it reminded me of how much we miss out in our lives that's meant for joy and enjoyment and all the good stuff, because we are numbing on the other side.
That's right. And unfortunately, we cannot feel the highs of the joys if we don't let ourselves feel the lows of the despair.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's hard. Like, it's hard to reckon that, but it's true at the same time. So, and I want the highs. Like, who doesn't?
I know.
Right?
Well, we're created to savor, enjoy life to the utmost. But if we're numbing ourselves out, then we're preventing ourselves from experiencing that. Exactly. And with your doing, you're so busy, you don't have time to linger and actually savor.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
There's this quote that was in her book. There's a full spectrum of human emotions, and we numb the dark, we numb the light.
Oh,
yeah. That's true. Not great. Yeah. So here is my therapeutic tip. And, this comes from her book where she asks some of these questions, but I've added my own little flavor to it. So let's just start off, always be honest. We all numb out to take the edge off of our pain. And we might not call it addiction, but we do it because we don't want to feel the pain of our shame or our fear or our insecurity or anger. So, okay, what are some of your favorite numbing behaviors? And how does our numbing behaviors get in the way of our authenticity?
Mm-hmm.
And do the numbing behaviors stop us from being emotionally honest and setting boundaries and feeling like we're enough? And are we using these numbing behaviors to hide or escape from the reality of our lives?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some questions to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I would even say that going back to the box, like how have some of the boxes that we've been put in, mm-hmm. either we've gone into ourselves or we've been put in, how are some of the numbing behaviors being experienced in those boxes, right? Like if I'm in a box where I'm supposed to be sweet and demure and, smile and look pretty in that box,
right?
What are the numbing behaviors? Well, I'm numbing my intellect. I'm numbing my brains and my who I am and my voice. I'm numbing things that actually are necessary in the world.
Yeah.
And we may not think of it like that, but it's true. That's what's happening.
Right.
And then we come home, we're frustrated. So what do we numb out with to not deal with those real feelings of like the frustration of that?
Mm-hmm. So then we end up sleepwalking our way through life and we're just kind of white knuckling and getting our way through. Yeah. And that's not what we're created to do. Like, part of what we started off talking about is that the world is in a lot of messes in many ways, and it needs us to show up and needs us to do those brave things to make a difference. And it needs us to be resilient. It needs us to have hope, to be hope, to show love. Like ultimately people of faith needs to be living it out through love and how we're impacting other people. That's ultimately what it is, right?
I'm just scrolling because I'm going to come to my coaching tips, which is, again, looking at the factors from Brene Brown's book, these 5 factors of resilience. So what comes to your attention as something that you would like to personally work on? So number 1, remember, they're resourceful and have good problem solving skills. And I think a lot of us underestimate what good problem solvers we are because it doesn't look like somebody else's analytical skills or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure that you have really good problem solving skills and they just might look differently than somebody else's.
Very good.
So don't dismiss that. Mm-hmm. Number 2, they're more likely to seek help. So join the Gillian and Mary Club and seek help.
That's right.
Don't go it alone, people.
That's right.
Number 3, they hold the belief that they can do something that will help them to manage their feelings and to cope. And, I think I'm getting better at that. I do reach out to my friends now, and I do know I have like strategies. So
right. And I've said this before, like if you struggle with anxiety, my goal when I'm helping you has never been to eradicate your anxiety, but it's to give you a sense of confidence that you have the tools and the ability to manage. That's the whole thing. Yeah.
That's right.
You can cope. Mm-hmm.
And then 4, have a social support available to them. We hope that you do have a social support, and it doesn't need to be a large network. Mm-hmm. It just needs to be a couple of trusted friends, some advisors, maybe a spiritual leader that you have. Mm-hmm. So you need a social support. And number 5, they're connected with others such as family or friends. And we know that this has been a tricky time for that, but there are imperfect ways to connect right now. Do that.
Yeah.
Even if it's not in person, like find the ways to connect.
Yeah. That's so powerful. So yes, take a look at that list. We know you want to grow in resilience as Gillian and I want to, and just think about and set a goal for yourself. Which of one of these ones are you going to work on and then persevere through it and then have confidence in yourself as you pursue that. Sounds good.
Okay, so Mary and I are both working on number 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And can you help us? Remind us that we need to ask for help.
That's right. Exactly.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Well, that was a great conversation, Mary. Thank you so much for leading through it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks for listening in and tuning in. Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Fully Lived Life podcast. We hope you found it encouraging and helpful. Be sure to follow or subscribe so that you never miss a new episode. And if you enjoyed our show, please help spread the word by sharing with your friends and family and posting on your social media. Thanks for listening, and tune in to our next episode.